Welcome to the McCallister Report. We join John McCallister, top football evaluator, as he shares wisdom and interviews coaches and athletes from around the country. Enjoy today's podcast.
Hello, my name is John McCallister, and I'd like to welcome you to the McCallister Scouting Report. Today, we're going to talk with a coach, a very, very successful football coach here in Ohio from Toledo Central Catholic. Greg Dempsey has been at Central Catholic for 24 years, won 5 state championships in that time, has had great assistant coaches, great, really, really good players, and probably pretty good players that worked their tails off to be successful. I've known him for a long time. We're good friends. I respect what he says, what he does, and it's always fun to watch him coach. But today, we're not going to talk X and O's. We're not going to talk blocking assignments. We're not going to talk technique. We're going to talk about other things besides X and O's. And it's a great interview. I'd like to have you sit back and watch it. My friend Greg Dempsey from Toledo Central Catholic. Okay, as I said earlier today, my guest today is a very good friend of mine. He's a very, very good football coach. He's Toledo Central Catholic head coach. And today, more than just about his team, I mean, you can find that other places, but I'd really like to talk about some of his different ideas. Very successful. Greg Dempsey, how are you?
I'm great, John. How are you doing? And thanks for having me on today.
You don't have a school today I guess, huh?
Yeah, it seems like we have more off days for weather right now than we have on days. It's getting a little frustrating trying to keep the off-season program going and getting these kids in a routine.
Right. It's really hard. Greg, tell the success here at Toledo Central Catholic. How many years you've been there?
I've been there 24 years now.
24 years. I remember when you took the job.
My hair was darker.
Yeah, maybe a little skinnier too. I don't know. But anyway, you've got a great support system at home. I know that. And I see pictures on Facebook once in a while, and that's super. Okay, the record, how many wins roughly at Central Catholic? You don't know roughly?
I mean, exact number.
How many state championships?
We've won 5 state titles during my years. We had to be in the neighborhood of 240 to 260 wins.
Okay.
But we've been blessed.
Yeah, you've had good players, tough players, and players that have worked their butts off. I mean, that whole potpourri of stuff. I go to your games usually once a year, and been up there in the spring, and it's just in the 7-on-7s. Kids play hard. Kids show up.
They treat it like it's important. We're very, like you said, everybody talks about D1 recruits and whatnot. And we've had some great football players, but we've had a great number of great committed high school football players that keep this going.
Okay, you've been there a long time. Give me some clues on longevity. What's helped you personally? 24 years in one place is a long time, and you've been and winning, but what's the longevity? What's caused that?
I think, well, for me personally, it's been, this is the place I always wanted to be. This is the place I wanted my kids to go to school. And once I got here, I wasn't looking at a place, where can I go? I wasn't looking to get in the portal. I was looking to make it where we were at. And I've just been blessed to have the success, because one, you can't go 24 years without success, or in this day and age, people are going to run you out. But to be at a school that supports it, to be at a school you love, to be consistently able to put a staff around you that makes you want to go to work every day because they're working just as hard as you, and that helps with not having the burnout that you hear of everybody else having.
Right.
And then just being around kids. I like being around kids. It seems us adults can sometimes mess things up. I like helping kids develop and try to get them where they can go.
And you've done a good job at that. Obviously, I'm prejudiced toward you, but you've done a good job. I mean, we're good friends.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned coaches. You've had coaches move on to head football jobs. I think you just had one recently go on. Do you the coach that's going to St. Francis? Did coach for you, I think, for a couple of years or not?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, Josh Linke, who's the new St. Francis head coach, he was on our staff, ended up leaving to go to Otsego High School and did well there, and now has moved on to the St. Francis opening. I've had some coaches go on over the years, about 8 to 10 guys have gone on to become head coaches. I've been very blessed where guys that could be head coaches really don't. They stay on. They're happy being with us, and you always want to help people move on that want to, but you're not sad when somebody's so happy they want to stay and be a part of what we have going here.
And don't some coaches come back?
Oh yeah, we've had guys leave and come back.
Head coaches. As head coaches.
Oh yeah, I've had guys leave and get head coaching jobs and come back. I've had former players join our staff. I've had local head coaches at other schools join our staff. I've had a pretty good mix of experience,
Right.
age, and success join our staff. Which
Right.
I'm not stupid. If I can get somebody smarter than me to join our staff, that's going to make me better. And that's kind of what I look at. I look at where's the differences. If you had a staff of a bunch of guys just like me, we aren't going to be very good. You
Right.
need to find people that are strong in what you're weak in, and who might have a strength that you can help them get better, and it all just it fits together like a puzzle.
For sure. Now let's talk about. We talked about staff. We talked about your success. Let's talk about the move to the Detroit City, combining with Detroit City schools. How would that work out? First year, I'm sure there were some bugs, but how has that worked out?
Thus far it's worked out really well. Speaking on the football end in particular, it was definitely an interesting experience because one, you're facing people you've never faced before. When you've been in a conference for so long, the kids change, the coaches usually remain the same for the most part, and you have a feel of things. This was a blind look of trying to get used to an opponent and things like that. And you're facing schools. You're facing not just schools. You're facing an area where the population's much deeper than Northwest Ohio. So
Right.
these teams have great players, but they also have a great amount of depth on their teams, and that's something that really had a factor. It was great competition. We played Warren De La Salle, who's won like 6 state titles. We played Detroit Catholic Central, who's won 10. Birmingham Brother Rice, who I think has 5 or 6, and Orchard Lake St. Mary's, who has 5 or 6. These are storied programs where it was just something to go up there and compete with them and against them. We were fortunate enough that we won our division, and the winner of the division got to play at Ford Field against the Detroit Public School champion, which was Cass Tech, which was another great experience with a very talented team with a great coach, and getting to go up there and have that experience. So it provided a great amount of new experiences for us. It's not going to be anything easy about it because a lot of these teams have a lot of players returning next year. They were very young up there, and I'm sure they want to try to knock us down a peg, being the new kid on the block that came in and won the league and got to do those things. But the football part's been very fun. The competition, the coaching, very good experience football-wise.
That's really good. And it didn't hurt you as far as Ohio playoffs, right?
No, not at all. What they do in Ohio, because we've been playing out-of-state teams for a long time. We've had struggles, as many teams do that have success getting games and end up playing. We've played teams from Indiana, Michigan, New York. You name it. We've had quite a run of different different states. And what the Ohio does is you turn in your schedule, you turn in your schedule and the enrollment of the schools you're playing, they convert that to Ohio's classification for computer points, and there you go. And and so it doesn't damage you there, which is a great thing that OHSA does for us, so that schools like us can build a full schedule for our kids and not have it hurt their playoff opportunities.
That's really good. Okay. You've had some good players. I don't really want to ask you about them because you're always going to miss somebody. You've had Deshaun Kaiser. You've had the big tight end that went down to Kentucky.
Louisville. Yeah, Louisville. Keith Tolbridge.
Louisville. And is he playing in the league?
No, he's not. He's actually coaching high school football down in Louisville, and he's won a couple state titles as an assistant coach down there. And he's a future head coach in the making.
That's super. Okay, I have a couple of questions to ask you, and it's just your opinion. And I don't know. I've collected these, over the years and things. Greg, what aspects of coaching football or that you get most excited about? What part of football gets you most excited?
There's a couple things. Working with kids, like I said, and trying to use the sport to, yes, play the game, try to win. We're keeping score and everything, but also the life lessons that comes through that, playing that sport about football with the kids. But there's also, individually, I like competing still. I'm a competitive guy. I like the X's and O's of football and trying to teach those to kids and get them to master a skill and then go out and execute it, and working with a staff to come up with a plan to put the kids in the best position to succeed. I mean, you're asking me for one thing, and in terms of football that excites me is almost impossible. We could eat up the next 20 minutes talking about it. But I think a football field's the biggest classroom on a campus.
Right.
You're going to learn a lot out there about yourself, about each other, and a great way of how to do things or sometimes not do things throughout your life.
That's a great analogy. Classroom football field. Now your academia people might not like that. Okay. Well, in your opinion, what makes an excellent football player?
I think, making an excellent football player at the high school level, there's obviously a skill level. There's a set of measurables that help any kid out. But I'll tell you right now, I've seen super talented kids that don't want to work hard. I've seen average kids that work so hard they become super football players. And I think having that determination and the work ethic to want to do it the right way is the first thing at the high school level, because you see underachievers, you see overachievers, and you do see kids that do reach their peak. I mean, because they have that combination of talent and effort. If you don't want to show up and give effort, though, and you're going to be doomed.
Yeah, you just have to. It's going to catch up with you, as I say. Okay, two more on this area. Why is an athlete's public image important?
That's a great thing, and the only thing I can put it back to is in today's world of social media. That's what these young people see every day. It's things that we didn't have to face. But there's a war out there, not just in football, but in general, of image versus character, and it sometimes seems like image is winning. And you see these certain ways people will do things or act, and it works out for them, but those numbers are so small to everybody else, and that's the 2% that kids, when they see that, want to chase. They don't see the 98% of the negative that can come along with it and the long-term effects that can come with it. And I think that image and character thing is a huge thing we're facing as educators and parents trying to work with our kids right now.
Super. Okay, you mentioned the word image a couple of times. Let's go someplace else. You're a 24-year veteran. You've had obviously a lot of major colleges come through your program all the time. I was up there in Michigan. Michigan was outside and all these. So tell me about your opinion of the NIL? A high school
NIL.
coach opinion. NIL.
High school coach's opinion of NIL is, one, it's here. And I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah.
And whether somebody likes it or not, we got to figure out how to manage it. I just don't see any guardrails on NIL right now. I don't see it as name, image, and likeliness. I see it as a way to get people to schools, is what I see, whether it's out of high school or whether it's through the portal. And I don't think that was the intention of the rule. I don't have a problem with somebody being able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. I definitely think the system is not operating as it was intended to be, though. And that's what we need to get their hands up. Because we see all the good things about NIL and the things about somebody's making this much money. Oh, isn't that great? They should be making it. And what we don't have is any data potentially on damage it causes. The NIL is a big part of the transfer portal also. Playing time and NIL are a big part of that transfer portal, which I'm not against kids being able to move like that. But we don't have any data on how this is affecting kids long term. Like we used to have the graduation rates scores at the college level, where you could see kids were graduating, how many were graduating, and which schools were truly pushing their kids towards a degree. And it doesn't seem to me as a high school coach watching college right now that not many people are talking about the academics of going to college right
now. I'm sorry, you caught me off guard. I'm thinking, I'm listening, but then I totally agree with you. Well, see, what I always thought of the NIL, this is how old I am, but kids weren't, like, say, Dempsey's starting at Toledo, okay? And all these kids have Toledo shirts on, have Dempsey on the back. And you go to the game as a parent, you get nothing from that. I'm talking about little things like that in the NIL.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. Well, first of all, it was a scapegoat. NCAA said we don't want to mess with it. But I'm not sure it wasn't made for that. And then now guys are getting 100,000, 200,000 to come and play. And then that's not guaranteed NIL money. But, big school here around here it's 13 million plus, spent that much money so far. It's 13 million plus. So that equals to me, no matter what school it is, you're buying players. And I've always said, 2 years ago, we're going to be the Power Five, and not all those schools. It's going to be a AAA baseball. You get paid. Next, you just go on to the pros. Let's talk. I don't want to get caught up on this. Let's talk about transfer portal. What's your opinion of that?
I think it's similar to NIL in terms of we don't, even more so, what's the data saying? I mean, you got one, I don't think a kid should be trapped in a school if things aren't working out. You only get to do this once.
Yeah.
But there has to be some guidelines on how you can get out and get going and how many times you can do it.
Yeah.
I think if you got no bad fit, and they might not even want you, it might not just be you aren't happy there. You should be able to get out of that.
That goes on.
Yeah, but to be able to just do it multiple times in the windows that they've created for this to be done, I mean, this is affecting high school kids because they're getting less recruited now because people can go to the portal. It's affecting college kids because why are they in the portal? It's a variety of reasons. One, somebody got to them about NIL money and they've been playing really well and they boost up, and that's probably about 2% of everything.
Right.
They're not playing where they're at. They messed up where they're at. Or they're not playing and the coach doesn't want them because they're not good enough to play. I mean, there's a lot of negatives that go into the portal that the high school kid doesn't understand. You'd be amazed at how many kids are going lower division football, Division 2 or 3, and they'll just like, well, once I get there, I'll just go in the portal. I mean, that's the answer. Everybody's answer is to go in the portal, and it almost gets treated through social media like it's a positive thing. And in some cases it is, but in other cases it's not, and it gets kind of glorified to these high school kids.
Right.
Your goal shouldn't be to go somewhere to get out of there,
Right.
other than they get out with a degree.
And Coach, I think it's also, you said Division 2, 3. It's also in the group of 5, the 5G group.
Oh,
5G. I think it's in that group too. You'll be surprised maybe what happens in the Mid-American Conference that you and I are both very familiar with because we live here. But
I feel bad for those group of 5 coaches that did a great job of recruiting and really got in there and found a good player and developed that player, and then, man, they get backdoored out of that player of doing really good recruiting and development work.
Well, Coach Dempsey, I really appreciate you taking the time. We've been 20 minutes. It goes fast. And really, really informative discussion. I appreciate it. Okay?
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you always.
Thank you.